Alara Vance's voice was a lifeline for millions of women who tuned into Unspoken, a podcast that felt like a whispered secret. She created a sanctuary for anonymous women to share their deepest truths, built on empathy and safety. But one February night, that promise shattered. Behind her studio doors, a story emerged, too dangerous to air, forcing Alara to choose between her principles and her blood. The world saw her as a beacon of integrity, but she was guarding a secret of her own. The biggest story of her career wasn't for the microphone. It was unfolding in the shadows, where the stakes were life and death. The power she was about to confront wasn't distant. It was a man her own sister feared, and the truth could get them both killed. Alara would soon be at the center of a police investigation, her studio a crime scene, her world crashing down. This is the story of what happens when the lines between personal and professional blur, and the cost of protecting the ones you love. Alara started Unspoken in a closet, with a borrowed mic and raw, honest stories. She listened, truly listened, making every guest feel safe and seen. The podcast grew, not because of polish, but because women recognized themselves in its stories. As Unspoken became a phenomenon, Alara fiercely protected her guests' anonymity. She tackled taboo subjects, abuse, gaslighting, trauma, offering solidarity, not solutions. Her reputation for integrity was unshakable. Women trusted her with their secrets. Alara saw herself as a guardian of these narratives, a steward of trust. But the very promise she made to so many would become the one she'd have to break. No one could have predicted that her greatest test would come from within her own family. The haven she built would become the stage for her downfall. An encrypted email arrived. Anonymous, urgent, accusing Julian Croft, a self-help influencer, of horrific crimes. The sender claimed to have proof audio, financial records, photos. Alara agreed to a secure call. The woman's voice was altered, but her fear was real. She described Croft's abuse and insisted on strict anonymity, terrified for her life. Alara arranged a secret studio meeting. Only Ben Carter, her trusted engineer, allowed. The guest arrived, hidden and anxious. When she revealed herself, Alara's world spun. It was her estranged sister, Maya. Maya had vanished years ago, drawn into Croft's orbit. Now, she was the anonymous source, and the danger was no longer abstract. The story wasn't just about exposing a monster. It was about saving her own sister. Alara's promise of safety had never been more personal. The stakes had never been higher. The recording session was tense. Maya's story of Croft's control and threats was harrowing. Ben, listening from the control room, recognized details only Alara's sister would know. After Maya left, Ben confronted Alara. "That was Maya, wasn't it?" Alara couldn't deny it. Ben warned her. Airing the story would put Maya in mortal danger. Croft would figure it out. Alara was torn between her duty as a journalist and her duty as a sister. But Ben saw leverage. He demanded a producer credit and a bigger cut, or he'd go to Croft's people. The threat was clear. Ben was willing to sell Maya's secret. Alara's fear turned to desperation. She pleaded with Ben, but he saw only opportunity. He gave her 24 hours to decide. Her sister's safety, or his silence. As he turned to leave, Alara's panic overwhelmed her. In a split second, she acted, striking Ben with a microphone stand, silencing him forever. Ben collapsed, and the studio fell into a suffocating silence. Alara's world narrowed to a single terrible reality. She had killed to protect her sister. Panic and instinct took over. She cleaned the studio, erased evidence, and disposed of Ben's body, staging it as a robbery gone wrong. The secret of Maya's identity was safe, but at a devastating cost. Ilara returned to her life, haunted by what she'd done. The woman who championed truth had buried it with blood. Her first instinct was to call for help, but she couldn't risk Maya's safety. The silence was her only shield. But secrets, like blood, have a way of surfacing. The cost of protection was now a crime she could never undo. For days, Ilara maintained the lie. Ben had quit, moved on. But his family reported him missing, and police began to investigate. Forensics found a blood stain in the studio, and DNA confirmed it was Ben's. Police searched the digital archives and found a backup, Maya's interview and Ben's confrontation with Ilara. The audio revealed motive, blackmail, and desperation. But it also captured the fatal moment, the sound of the microphone stand, the silence after. The evidence was damning. Ilara, the voice of truth, was arrested for murder. The story she tried to bury was now the key to her undoing. Her sanctuary had become a crime scene. The truth she'd protected had become her own undoing. The world watched as her carefully built life unraveled. Justice, at last, demanded its price. Ilara's motive was clear. She killed to protect her sister. In court, her defense argued emotional distress and blackmail. Maya testified, revealing Croft's abuse and the terror of exposure. She explained Ilara's desperate promise to keep her safe. Ilara's own words were quiet. "When my sister came to me, I gave her the same promise I gave every woman on my show." She admitted her crime, but asked, "How could I have chosen differently?" The jury and the world were forced to confront the impossible choices women face. Ilara's actions were wrong, but rooted in love and fear. She became both protector and perpetrator, a tragic human contradiction. Her story was no longer just about truth, but about the cost of keeping it. Ilara was found guilty of second-degree murder, 15 years to life. Unspoken was canceled, its archives erased, leaving a void for her listeners. But Maya's testimony, made public, sparked a reckoning. Julian Croft's crimes were exposed. Other victims came forward. Croft was arrested, his empire destroyed. Justice for survivors came through tragedy. Maya became an advocate, fighting for stronger protections. Ilara's crime accomplished what her podcast could not. It brought down a predator. The cost was immense. Lives shattered, legacies questioned. Justice was served, but it was messy, imperfect, and left scars on everyone involved. Ilara's story is about the collision of truth and protection. She believed testimony could heal, but when darkness entered her own life, she faced an impossible choice. The truth could save others, but endanger her sister. For many women, this is not hypothetical. It's reality. Ilara acted out of love, not malice, but her choice was indefensible. She was trapped between her public promise and private loyalty. In the end, she chose survival over principle. Her tragedy is a challenge, to build a world where women don't have to choose between truth and safety. We demand courage from survivors, but rarely offer true protection. Ilara's story is a warning and a call to do better.